The film opens with a narration talking about the turbulent and violent times in the early 1970s. In the midst of the darkness, people at home found entertainment with talk show host Jack Delroy and his late-night show Night Owls, which made an attempt to separate itself from others like Johnny Carson by showcasing odd guests. Jack was always backed up by his wife Madeline, until she became ill with lung cancer and tragically succumbed to it in 1976. Jack's show starts to suffer in ratings, and he appears to be on the verge of falling into obscurity. 1 year later, on Halloween night, Jack has plans to get his show back on the map. The narrator then says the following film is the last known footage of the episode with behind-the-scenes looks. The theme of the show is of the occult, with Jack promising some spooky guests for the evening. Jack's first guest is a self-proclaimed psychic named Christou. He begins to demonstrate his gifts through cold readings, first by trying to reach the spirit of the deceased wife of someone in the audience, only for his guess of the couple's names to be incorrect. Christou then saves face by speaking to a mother and daughter about their late son-brother who committed suicide, which they confirm. Before Christou is done, he seems to hear a sharp ringing noise and calls out to anyone asking if they know the name Minnie. Jack cuts to commercial. During the break, Jack is seen telling his producer Leo Fisk that Minnie is a private pet name for Madeline that nobody else would have known about. Leo expresses his concerns to Jack, while Christou is looking unwell. The show returns with second guest, former magician turned skeptic Carmichael the Conjurer. He is there to disprove Christou's claims that he is psychic and try to show the audience that anything they see or hear are just parlor tricks. Jack backs up Christou by telling everyone that Minnie is what he called his wife. Christou and Carmichael argue more, which ends when Christou begins to spew black bile all over the place. The show cuts to commercial again while Christou is rushed to the hospital. The crew reacts with horror over what they witnessed. The next guests are parapsychologist June Ross Mitchell and a 13-year-old girl named Lily, who was the sole survivor of a satanic church's mass suicide. Lily claims that she has a friend named Mr. Wriggles that sometimes comes out. Carmichael is quick to assume they are phonies as well, so Jack opts for June to conduct a séance after the commercial break. Backstage, Jack is told that Christou has died at the hospital, and he tells Leo to not let anybody else know. The séance begins, with Mr. Wriggles taking over Lily's body, causing her face and skin to look demonic and for her voice to sound sinister. The demon taunts Jack and suggests that he and June had an affair, and also telling Jack they have met before by the tall trees. The electricity starts to go out of control and Lily begins to float off the ground before June cuts off the connection and ends the séance. After the next break, Carmichael challenges Jack to prove that he can pull off tricks to fool the audience as well. He calls upon Jack's show partner Gus McConnell for the demonstration. Carmichael takes out a pocket watch and hypnotizes Gus. To the audience, it then appears as though Gus feels worms inside his body, and he begins to rip open his stomach to find them coming out of him, right before a large worm burst through Gus's head. Carmichael then snaps his fingers, and Gus appears totally normal. The footage is played back, showing Gus just believing he was filled with worms. Jack then decides to replay the footage from the séance, showing that every weird thing that happened with Lily really did happen. A brief flash is seen, and Jack has the footage slowed down frame by frame to reveal a frightening image of Madeline's spirit appearing next to him. Lily then becomes demonic again and begins to bring the set down. Gus has his head twisted 180 degrees, Carmichael is burnt to death, and June and Leo are also killed. The studio audience begins to run for their lives. Jack then finds himself experiencing horrifying visions of himself throughout past episodes of the show, before finding himself confronted with evidence that he was involved in the satanic church that Lily was part of. For the price of his success, Madeline became sick with cancer, despite never once smoking in her life. Jack is then lying in bed with a dying Madeline, who begs him to put her out of her misery. Jack spots a dagger on the nightstand and sticks it in Madeline's stomach. Jack snaps out of it and finds that he has stabbed and killed Lily. He stands amidst the massacre on his set, hearing police sirens incoming, while he can only stand in shock and repeatedly mutter, "Dreamer, stay awake."